This is John Black, Super Chemist. I'm reviewing this video by Simply Resilient Me. I don't know who this woman is, never seen any of her videos, but this one sounds, she's just everything she'd say, saying is what I would say. She's very intelligent. She's on YouTube if you want to watch her channel or whatever, or watch the video with better quality, you know, the whole thing and everything. Go to YouTube and watch it. Otherwise, we're going to go into it right here.
You can have a genius IQ and still make decisions that make people question whether your brain is on vacation. And as history has proven, some of the most powerful people in the world have made some of the dumbest choices imaginable. So let's define it. Stupidity isn't just about not knowing things. It's about refusing to think critically. It's about repeating nonsense until it sounds like wisdom. You know, Voltaire once said, the more often a stupidity is repeated, the more it gets the appearance of wisdom.
You can see that today. You don't have to be truthful. You just have to say it enough times.
And history has proven him right. Think about how people used to believe that bleeding someone with leeches could cure them of illness, or how tulip bulbs in the 1600s became more expensive than houses because of irrational market speculation. True story. Google tulip mania. Anyway, if you hear something enough times, even if it makes no sense, it starts to sound like a fact. And suddenly, a ridiculous idea becomes an unshakable belief, and people are swearing by it like it's gospel.
This is called the four lights effect. It actually has a scientific term. I don't know what it's called, so I call it the four lights effect. And the four lights effect is basically saying once you accept one doublespeak, you will accept all doublespeak. Meaning the hurdle to get you to accept the first doublespeak is really hard, but once you do accept it, the next doublespeak and the next one after that, it gets easier and easier and easier until you actually have to have doublespeak, or you think it's all lies. Doublespeak starts with saying a lie over and over and over and over again.
Thanks, Voltaire, for pointing out that particular nightmare. Now, these days, the word stupid is thrown around a lot by all sorts of people. The internet and social media have made it almost acceptable and commonplace as a catch-all insult, whether it's used to dismiss opposing views or to simply sound tough and edgy. It has become a lazy substitute for genuine critical thought. On a personal note, I was recently called stupid, not because I did or said something foolish, but simply because I disagreed with someone and I backed up my comment with facts that were readily available. I'm not going to dive into what the discussion was about because
this is called the Milgram effect. I'm going to do videos on these effects. The Milgram effect basically says that if the authority says something's okay and acceptable, then it is acceptable. And 2/3 of the population, or between 1/3 and 2/3 of the population, will accept it as okay. That's how Nazi Germany happened. You know, if you say something enough times, if the authority says it's okay to attack Jews and it's okay to do this and that, then you'll have 2/3 of the population, no matter what. You can tell them to burn 6 million Jews, they'll do it. As long as the responsibility is on the authority. And that's what they do with this thing where we delete people now, or what do they call it? Cancel people. They think it's acceptable because they've told us. The authority has said you should go and do this and that, you know, with this cancel culture. You know what I mean? Shouldn't worry. You should just, if we repeat it enough times, it's true, and you should just cancel everyone who doesn't believe. The authority says it is okay to argue with name-calling instead of facts. This is a prime example of the Milgram effect, because normally that would not be acceptable. It's the same with Trump assassination. If you say it enough times on TV and the government and the politicians, it's okay to shoot Trump in the head. That, you know, the Milgram effect will make someone go shoot someone Trump in the head because they'll think it's okay.
it's really not relevant here. But it goes to show how quickly some people resort to labeling others as stupid when they are confronted with contradictory evidence and a different opinion. Now, before we go any further, let's make one thing clear. Ignorance and stupidity are not the same thing. Ignorance is simply not knowing something. It's a lack of information. I am quite literally ignorant of a lot of things, and I have no problem admitting that. Stupidity, on the other hand, is refusing to think critically, even when the information is right in front of you. Ignorance can be fixed with learning. Stupidity, that takes a little more work, because it often requires unlearning bad habits, questioning one's own biases, and making the effort to think beyond convenience. In fact, there have been numerous studies on human stupidity that reveal it's not just random or inherent. It is very often rooted in cognitive biases and social conditioning. It turns out that what we casually dismiss as stupidity is actually way more complex than a simple lack of knowledge. Enter Dietrich Bonhoeffer, a German theologian who, in the 1940s, argued that stupidity is actually more dangerous than evil. Why? Because evil has intent. Evil knows what it's doing. Stupidity, on the other hand, can be manipulated, weaponized, and used by evil without even realizing it. Think of it as evil's unsuspecting sidekick, like a villain's henchman who blindly follows orders, never questioning why they're holding the detonator to destroy their own life. Bonhoeffer didn't see stupidity as an issue of intelligence, but rather of a moral failure, an unwillingness to think critically. He believed that stupidity thrives in environments where people surrender independent thought in favor of group ideology, propaganda, social pressure, or blind allegiance to authority.
The Milgram effect.
In other words, it's not that people are inherently stupid. It's that they stop questioning, they stop analyzing, and they allow themselves to be swept along by the tide of collective thinking. They've willingly, sometimes unknowingly, abandoned their capacity for critical thinking. And here's the kicker. Bonhoeffer also pointed out that stupidity and power go hand in hand. The more power someone has, the more likely they are to stop thinking critically and just start being, stupid. That's because power isolates people from honest feedback. Once you surround yourself with enough yes men, your grip on reality starts to slip. And this leads me to Charles Bukowski's point. The problem with the world is that intelligent people are full of doubts, while the stupid ones are full of confidence.
This is called the Kruger-Dunning effect. And the Kruger-Dunning effect, doublespeak, the four lights effect, and the Milgram effect are a lot of the things that propaganda uses to manipulate the stupid.
Ever noticed how the loudest, most self-assured voices in the room aren't always the ones making the most sense? That's because truly intelligent people question themselves, their ideas, and their understanding of the world. They know they might be wrong. They accept input from others. Meanwhile, those who are completely convinced of their own brilliance often lack the self-awareness to realize they might not know what they're talking about. Confidence is great, but when it's paired with ignorance, it's a dangerous mix. Number 1, ask questions. If someone is confidently wrong, sometimes the best thing you can do is ask, why do you think that? If their answer sounds like it comes from some poorly written conspiracy blog, you know you're dealing with some high-grade, industrial-strength nonsense. Number 2, be aware of your own blind spots. Stupidity is not just other people's problems. We all face times where we lack intelligence or knowledge of something. The trick is to recognize when we are being the fool in the conversation and adjust accordingly. Spoiler alert, it happens to the best of us. No one is immune. Number 3, don't mistake confidence for competence. Some of the most foolish ideas are delivered with the most certainty. Just because someone speaks loudly and assertively doesn't mean they know what they're talking about. Confidence doesn't necessarily mean competence. Number 4, recognize when to walk away. There are some arguments you just can't win because, brace yourself, some people like being stupid. It's comfortable. Thinking is hard, which is why, as Carl Jung pointed out, most people would rather judge than think. If someone is determined to live in their little bubble of nonsense, sometimes the best thing you can do is let them.
comes to a good point where, because I get called like I'm Islamophobic, and all I'm saying is there's a small subset of Islam that are radicals that like Sharia law, and I'm saying that, you know, the people that want to get, the Islam people that want to get away from those crazy Islams are coming to these first world countries, and because there's open borders, they're bringing along the nut jobs with them, and now these nut jobs are trying to take over or whatever, you know, ruin everything. And everyone says, I hate Islam people. You know, how does that? I'm actually the one trying to protect the Islam people from the crazy Islam people. You're the ones who are, you know, bringing over the normal ones, and instead of shutting the border off for the crazy ones, you open it for everybody. Now the nut jobs come in with them, infiltrate their communities, not your communities, and institute Sharia law, and then they're trying to get away from Sharia law, and then you let them in, and I'm the one that's racist. That makes no sense. It's not critical thinking. But my whole point is once someone calls you racist when it has nothing to do with race, like that, obviously I'm not an Islamophobia or whatever, against Muslims or whatever. If I'm saying I'm talking about a subset of them, and I'm actually trying to protect the bulk of them, which would be the normal ones. So obviously I'm not racist against Muslims or whatever, right? But they'll throw that word once they throw that word out, when you know what I mean, you could be talking about a conversation with someone that has nothing to do with race, and then they'll call you a racist. At that point, you know they're crazy. Okay?
They will figure it out one way or another, hopefully. Number 5, fact check yourself before you wreck yourself. In a world where misinformation spreads faster than a cute dog video, take a minute to research before you share something. Look at reputable sources, you know, cross-check information. Be willing to change your mind if new evidence comes to light, because the only thing worse than encountering stupidity is contributing to it. Now, here's something we don't talk about enough. Stupidity isn't just frustrating. It's actually bad for your health. This is why I'm talking about it today. Whether you're the one engaging in it or just dealing with it, stupidity raises stress levels, it increases frustration, and it can lead to anxiety and high blood pressure. I mean, have you ever had a conversation so dumb it gave you a headache? That is not just in your head. Stress hormones like cortisol spike when you are constantly dealing with nonsense. The solution? Step back, protect your peace, engage only when it's worth it. And remember, you don't have to attend every argument you're invited to. Take a breath, explore all the facts, research and fact check yourself or others before you blindly share information. Think critically, and most importantly, know when to let it go. There is no shame in letting it go. Look, at the end of the day, your opinions are your opinions and mine are mine, and that is perfectly fine. We just need to make sure that our opinions are truly our own, based on facts and careful thought, rather than just regurgitating someone else's nonsensical comments because they fit your internal bias.
Yeah, what a lot of people do is they say, if I don't see it with my own eyes, then it's not happening. The entire country can say, this is happening. All the poor people in all the poor neighborhoods can say, this is happening, this is happening. But these people in the middle class areas and the upper, they just refuse to believe anything, even if there's 1,000 videos on YouTube showing it, showing actual proof. They don't care if they don't see it in their own neighborhood, because they don't care about anyone but themselves and their ideology, their beliefs. Their belief system is more important than truth.
In a world overflowing with noise, let's strive to make informed choices, not just loud ones. John Wayne wisely said it best. Life is tough. It's even tougher when you're stupid. So let's all try to make it a little easier by thinking just a little bit more.
I guess the reason why I picked this video is because she brings up those 3 effects: the Kruger-Dunning effect, the 4 lights effect, and the Milgram effect. And I'm going to do videos on them soon.